Well, hello there, friend. That's right. Yeah, you automotive enthusiast, you, no matter where you are. You've done it again. You've hit the button on yet another...
Kevin, another zealous episode of V8 Radio.
Zealous.
That's
all right. And what definition of zealous are we going with on this one?
Having great energy or enthusiasm in pursuit of a cause or an objective.
I think you're reading this about a different show.
No, wait, man. We might be overzealous, but today
that's it.
We are zealous.
All right. Well, I will turn up the zeal over here, or the zeal over here, if you will, right?
Dig it.
This is the V8 Radio Podcast. I'm Kevin Ostie, joined as always by our esteemed co-host, Mr. Mike Q-Ball Clark, and you can hear him right over there.
Hey there. Hey, and as they say on the Stubborn German podcast, it's been a hot minute.
Oh, man, here we go again. Yeah, so, you listening, wherever you are in the world, you've heard the last two episodes where Mike has started off the show with It's Been a Hot Minute. And, of course, our friends at the Stubborn German podcast, which I also work on, listened and said, hey, it's been a hot minute, and threw a little shout out to our friend Q-Ball, and you brought it up.
My man.
Yeah. A couple of good episodes coming out of the Stubborn German podcast, by the way. The next one, the one that's current, is good. The next one is real good. Real special guest. There was a gentleman in town who has owned a bar and grill place forever, and he has retired and sold the place. And he's one of our local heroes in my small town, and he was our guest, and it was a lot of fun.
Oh, that's fantastic. I can't wait for that one.
Yeah. So subscribe now. All right, well, again, because you listen repeatedly, that we start every episode of the V8 Radio Podcast with an unbelievably riveting and zealous trivia question.
It is all those things more and then some.
That's it. Have you prepared one for us today?
Of course. Okay, Kev. What was the last volume production car to have pop-up headlights?
The last volume production car.
Yeah, I'm not talking about any
headlights.
little boutiques or little one-offs or anything. Like a real legit manufacturer.
Not the Citroen 1CZ or something that had them that ran late. Well, pop-up headlights, if my memory serves, were canceled because of safety things. Like if you're driving on the road and something happens to your headlight and it gets stuck, it can't come up and illuminate the world in front of you, or it won't go down or something. So I think it was a safety thing that regulated those out of existence. But as far as the last car, part of me wants to say Mazda Miata. Part of me wants to say...
You got a year?
Yeah, one of those changed. I'm not the biggest Miata guy, but I'm going to... it had to have been 05, 04, 5, somewhere around there. Because before that, you had the F-body GM cars, and those were done by... Oh, man.
What's it going to be, Kev?
Uh-huh. Tell them what they've lost, Alex. I think, the F-body cars, the Pontiacs, were done in 02, so that was the last for that one. But the model, cheesed out, and I don't know if the pop-up continued. So I'm going to say it was a Miata sometime in early 2000s.
Early 2000s. All right, let me get that down. And
oh my God, really?
Just type that out here. Early 2000s.
So somebody gets really bored between episodes, huh?
Mazda Miata.
And dives into that sound effects library. Very nice. Oh, man.
Good stuff.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, I have a question for you.
All right, talk to me, Goose.
What This is a two-parter,
Oh, great.
or could be a four-parter, but it's
even better.
We'll try two. So the main question is, when did the cigarette lighter become standard equipment in automobiles?
Ooh. That is a phenomenal question.
And the bonus is, what was the last car with a built-in cigarette lighter, which may or may not have had pop-up headlights?
Right on. Oh, man. Okay, so when did the cigarette lighter become standard issue? Okay, well, the heyday, the zenith of cigarette smoking,
Man.
I think happened in the 50s and 60s. I mean, people were smoking, and you had advertisements saying, hey, have a cigarette to calm your nerves, and the doctors were prescribing it for your nervous conditions. So I'm going to say the automakers followed
I think they
suit.
I think they still do, by the way.
Prescribe cigarettes for
Well, it's
nervousness?
smoking. It's a different
a different kind of smoking.
different stuff, but
Right. Yeah, that's true. Oh, boy. Okay, so I'm going to say, so when did cigarette lighters become standard issue? I'm going to say 1953.
1953. Smoking was very popular then.
Yes. Okay.
You want to take a crack at part two? What was the last one?
The last one. I'm going to say the last one was... What model or what year?
Well, you're welcome to give all the above, but what if you want to just go for the gusto and say year, make, model?
Okay, year, make, model. I'll say it was a 2001 Ford Taurus.
Ooh. 2001 Ford Taurus.
Yes, sir.
And maybe it's
Did
German
not have
twin,
pop-up headlights.
German twin, the Taunus.
The Taunus. Is that
Yep.
right?
Another trivia question just out the window.
Just blown. All right.
Gone. Okay. Any reason why you share the 2001 Ford Taurus as the...
Well, I think it was the 2001 because it was probably later than people think. Cars nowadays, I think there is a smoker's option, a smoker's package as an option on some cars, or at least there used to be. But it's just a feeling that I have about when it stopped being standard.
All right. Hooked on a feeling.
No rhyme or reason.
Definitely no rhyme.
No.
Perfect. All right.
Barely
Well,
any
we will
reason.
find out the answer to these tremendously intuitive and exciting questions at the end of the show.
Right on. Can't wait.
Yeah, these are both interesting.
Yeah, good stuff.
To like 8 people, but 2 of them are here.
That's good. We're guaranteed at least 2 people listening every show.
That's it. So it's been kind of a crazy summer. Things are going full steam, man.
It has been. You have been all over creation.
I've been traveling quite a bit, and it's been a lot of fun. I'm fortunate to be able to do this stuff. It's also, as of today, been kind of tiring.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
I don't know if it's the jet lag or if it's just the fact that my sleep schedule's all screwed up. But today I'm kind of feeling it. But
Oh, man. Well, I'm sorry about that.
that's okay. Wouldn't trade it for anything.
Right on. Yeah, you take the bad with the good. So,
Yeah, right.
yeah, for sure.
So a couple weeks ago, I was in Southern Cal doing the SEMA Awards Gala, which was the Hall of Fame induction ceremonies and other fancy stuff from SEMA, from the CEO and the chairman of the board, and bringing in some new officers and board members and congratulating others and thanking others for their services and whatnot.
Nice.
A lot of fun. It was a great event. It was a lot of really great people in that room, and just amazed that looking back, at 12-year-old little numbnuts Kevin would have a chance to even be in that room, and much less, help deliver the program. So that was cool.
Right. So is that where did they show those interviews you did with Jack Roush and Gene Winfield?
And Walker
Evans?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah, it was. And the format was great because in the past we would do, like a 2-minute intro that either myself or somebody else would write, and then build a little bit of suspense, and then bring the person up, and then they would give their commentary and have their moment, and then you'd send them on their way. Well, this time it was a quick little teaser intro and then straight into the video. And the video would play, and then it was structured to basically set up the big moment, when they would come up on stage. So, for example, Gene Winfield being one of the inductees, he's been around forever. The guy's 95 years old. He's a pioneer of hot rodding and racing and custom cars. So the intro was, if I can remember, something to the extent of, it's hard to think about the beginning of hot rodding without thinking about the beginning. And Gene Winfield has been here basically since the beginning.
Yeah.
And then boom, here goes the video.
Nice.
So just a little thing, and then the crowd really dug the videos. The production team did just a remarkable job on capturing who they were quickly. It was about a 4-minute video when they were all said and done. Just long enough, You wanted more, but you can't have any more.
Yeah. Well, you certainly don't want them saying, God, enough already.
For sure. Yeah, yeah. And quite honestly, the deal. When you induct people into a Hall of Fame, or you honor somebody with a speech and you give them the podium, depending on that personality, you could be there for quite a while.
Oh, yeah. Didn't think about that.
Some people like to, and it's their time. So, I mean, you give them the time. Mm-hmm. But in this case, everybody was pretty succinct. Mr. Roush was unable to be there, so he actually recorded kind of an acceptance speech video.
Okay.
Which was cool. And he had the manager of Roush Performance Parts came up, and he did a quick thing, and then we showed the second video of Roush, and he was that guy's the best. He congratulated the other honorees in the video.
That's nice.
And it was really, really nice. And overall, I mean, it was a great night. There was one situation that was a little bit interesting.
Ooh, what was that?
Yeah, and to get into that, we got to back up a little bit.
Okay.
In the story, right? So Kelly and I flew into the Long Beach airport this time, which is a much lesser used Southern California airport, and the ceremonies were going to be held at the Anaheim Westin Resort, which is literally across the street from Disneyland.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're into that, if you just want to go get your work done, it's, there could be traffic and whatnot, but it was fine. Yeah. That's just me being a curmudgeon. Sorry. So we ended up coming in a little bit early because I know the live production world can pivot quickly, and there are times when somebody says, hey, we need you like right now to go through this, or somebody's schedule changes during rehearsal, and the last thing I want to be is on a plane or 5 states away
right
when needed. So I make sure I'm there plenty early, let them know I'm here. If you need me, shoot me a text. I'll be over in minutes. So that gave Kelly and I a nice opportunity to go do some fun SoCal stuff.
Cool, man.
And really have kind of funny. I lived out there for, almost 7 years, and never really had the SoCal weekend experience that had been, kind of in my mind. And what that is you always see these guys, in Southern California. You see him everywhere, but SoCal in particular. It's an older guy, and he's got a Hawaiian shirt on, a pair of flip-flops, and he's got a hot rod, and he's going to the donut shop, and he's hanging out with his buddies, and he goes surfing, and hangs out. And outside of the surfing and actually having the hot rod, I was able to fill the rest of that criteria.
Outstanding. Very good. Very good.
So I had my cheap Hawaiian shirts and went to the the Donut Derelicts event, which is about the oldest weekend cars and coffee event in the world. Probably one of the beginnings of that.
I've heard that.
Yeah, so it's cool. Adam's Donuts, a little donut shop in Huntington Beach. You get there at 5:30 a.m. on Saturday morning, and hot rods are everywhere, and customs and muscle cars and lowriders and whatever you want. And they're all gone by 8:30. And
wow.
You might have 300-400 cars. I mean, it's a big thing.
That's impressive.
So I told Kelly, I'm like, I want to go do donuts, and then, we'll go have a day. And we got there late. We did have a little traffic. Got there about 8:30 or so, and there was about 3 or 4 cars. But nevertheless, the donuts at that place are also worth the trip. So got some killer donuts and hung out. And we said, hey, let's go to the OPGI 40th anniversary car show.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Perfect.
So that was on the list. And then, we wanted to, I'm kind of changing time up a little bit because I'm aware this story does go somewhere. But in the time before the event, we had some time to visit some people and some shops. And we visited Pete Santini at Santini Paint and Body. And if you're familiar with Pete, if you were reading Hot Rod Magazine in the 80s and 90s, at any point, Santini's work was featured. Same with Sport Truck Magazine and all the boat stuff. I mean, this guy is a tremendous custom painter, great guy. Very fortunate. He spent a bunch of time with us, showed Kelly a lot of things about how he runs his business, and they were talking shop, and I was standing there looking at cars and whatnot. And we had a little more time after that, and I said, hey, let's go see Chip Foose. Go to his shop.
Right on.
Kelly's like, sure. So we motor over to Chip's place and Foose Design, and she's like, it looks like the gates are closed, and it's, end of day. She's like, how's he going to know if we're here? And I said, well, there he is. So he was walking out of his shop, and we walk up, and he's like, hey, what's going on? And I said, hey, we're in town. I don't want to bother you. It looks like you're on your way out. He's like, well, I got to go in a few minutes, but come on in. So he opened back up and gave us the whole tour of the shop and all the projects he's working on. And,
nice.
and it was cool. And this year, I think it's okay to say this. If I'm speaking out of school, I apologize. But Chip is going to be the featured artist at SEMA.
Oh, no kidding.
So all the graphic panels that will be displayed around and the icons for the different halls.
Oh, yeah.
That's going to be his work, which is really cool. And he had those drawings out and showed them to us and everything, and really, really neat stuff. Foose, of course it is.
Sure.
So we were hanging out, and it was time. He had to split, so he's like, are we going to see it tomorrow night at the gala? And I said, yeah. And he said, well, I'm going to be at Winfield's table. He said, my dad was an early shop manager for Winfield 1,000,000 years ago.
Wow.
And Chip's like, I grew up in that shop, and he's my hero, so I'm going to be there. So great. So yeah, it was super cool of him to take some time and show us around. In fact, I'm on the T-shirt exchange program.
Are
with
you?
Mr. Foose. Yeah, he grabbed a couple off the shelf and gave them to Kelly and I have to reciprocate and send him out a couple V8 shirts.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. So we fast forward to the night of the event, and everything starts. Well, Winfield was our first inductee, and we, like I said, did the intro, roll a video, and I do have to say the CEO, Mike Spagnola, and the chairman of the board, James Lawrence, gave great speeches, presentations. The whole event was really good. I mean, this was very well engaging for any car enthusiast. So anyway, we bring Gene up, and Gene is such a trooper. He was like in the hospital the day before.
No kidding.
Yeah, and it was kind of a routine thing for him, but he made it, and he said there was no way he was going to miss this, and that guy, I believe it. So here he is. We bring him up on stage, and he starts to chat a little bit about the video and about his career, and the video really focused on that concept of just do it, and everything's possible, and he was thanking a few people, and he says, I'd like to bring up my friend Chip Foose.
Ooh.
So Chip comes up on stage, and I'm thinking, this is pretty cool. This is 2 SEMA Hall of Famers now,
right?
At the same time. And whenever you can have somebody induct you that is doing it as an honor, it's super cool. So I thought this is pretty neat. So Chip starts telling the story about his dad working there and Chip being there as a kid, and he's telling Gene straight up, he's like, you are my hero, and this is a great honor and well deserved, and thank you so much for doing everything you do, and told a couple of fun stories, and people were laughing, and it was cool. So it was really cool to have, both of those guys up on stage and sharing stories. It was a really special moment.
Oh, I bet it was. I mean, having Chip Foose up there with his mentor and his hero.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It was another one where I tried to stay stage right of all those photographs.
Just let the moment happen, man.
Yeah. You can see the picture caption now. Hot rodding legends, Gene Winfield and Chip Foose, and
photobomb by bald guy who claps himself.
Oh, man. The self-clapping Seacrest.
Self-clapping Seacrest. Love it.
And then Evans comes out, and we had talked about him a little bit before too, but the video played, and he noted, he said, yeah, I watched, there's a great video, but some of the good stories didn't make it in. And everybody laughed because, a lot of people know this guy, and he's not one to pull any punches, and sometimes his stories tend to be a little bit more than what you would say in the general public.
Sure.
So he says, because they left him out, I'm going to tell one right now. And there's kind of this collective gasp, and I'm thinking, oh boy. Right. But at the same time, I'm anticipating this. I'm excited for this. I was hoping he would do something like this, because I heard all those stories during the interview, and none of them were like too off color to be able to tell,
right? Okay.
At this event. So he says, here's the story, people used to always ask me in my race truck, how do I know that the shocks are set properly? Right? How do you know when the valving's right and it's all set right? So what I tell them is that, imagine you're going to dive into the apron of a big fat lady. That's how it should feel.
I love it.
There's just amount of give in that big bosom, right?
Oh my God. Oh, that's brilliant.
But he said, you know what I'm talking about. That's how they should be. So that was great. It was a big laugh. Everybody really had fun with that. So it was a good night,
Oh, I can imagine. It had to have been just fantastic.
Yeah, larger than life personalities. And legit people. So it was really cool.
Man,
and
that's awesome, man.
It was. And then the next morning, at some point during the weekend, Kelly got her first ocean fishing trip in.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So chartered a boat, and she went out fishing and caught 3-foot-long barracuda and, other ocean-going fish. There's bass in the ocean. I didn't know this, but she caught some special kind of ocean-going bass.
Sea bass.
Well, that's what I said. And she said it's not a sea bass. Sea bass is a different thing. I tried with that. Didn't get anywhere.
So is there going to be a giant stuffed marlin over by your neons in the near future?
I think sometime there might. I don't know about in the near
Not
future.
Not from this trip, huh?
Yeah. Well, it was. So she went out, I don't know, half an hour offshore, it wasn't an all day trip, but they're cruising around under like oil rigs and
Oh, wow.
next to all the container ships that are parked out there, and
Okay.
that's where the fish were biting. But
Sure.
it gives you a sense of scale. You're on this 25-foot boat next to that stuff. But she really enjoyed it. It didn't get any like real seas,
Sure.
giant ocean waves or anything. And that's what she was concerned with. She didn't want to get seasick. And
Yeah.
we're dealing with a gal that grew up on a very small lake/pond that she fishes in. Ocean's a bit different.
It is a little different, sure. But I'm glad she saw some action, though. That's cool.
Yep, it was. She really enjoyed that, and then I was hanging out in Huntington Beach doing some work stuff on my laptop and enjoying coffee and just watching the car show go by.
Nice.
Which was cool. And I'd sent you that picture of the Karma Rivero,
Yeah.
which is a car that you don't see on the street anywhere. And here's one sitting right in front of me. And if you want to know what that looks like, Google it. It's cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then we visited Mix Paint. Not M-I-X, but Mick, M-I-C-K-S. And in Pomona, and Mick, that shop is like one of the hottest paint shops anywhere at this point. They at the Grand National Roadster Show, they had the Slonaker Award winner. They had 14 cars there.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, they've got a big shop, 38 people on staff. And they occupy what used to be the old SoCal Speed Shop buildings. And our friend Tony Thacker, who he and I go way, way back, he was there, and he's doing some PR for him, so he gave me a tour. And another kind of blast from the past, a guy named Mickey Larson, who used to have a place called Twins Custom Concepts, and I met him in the late 90s. Twins had done a Cadillac, I believe, for Pioneer. It was a 63 black Cadillac convertible with leopard skin flames.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was in Hot Rod, and that's how I met him. And we've stayed in touch over the years here and there. And he was there. And funny thing is, his son does video production and is brilliant, and might do some freelance work for us.
Oh, wow. Right on.
Yeah. So it was a really neat experience to do that thing where it's like before and after the Hall of Fame event, I didn't really have much else scheduled. So it's like, let's just go here and then go there and see friends and see cool cars and eat well and just enjoy the weekend. So
and make a contact.
Made some contacts, and we kind of capped it off with some of the people that we used to hang out with when I lived there, a couple that I went to college with, and we had a great night. So yeah, it was just a solid trip. Really cool.
That's phenomenal. That's what I always want for you when you go on these trips.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, man. By golly, Kevin, you work hard.
Well, and that one kind of blurred the lines, between work and, I mean, my whole life blurs the lines between work and doing what most people have as a hobby or a passion for. So sometimes you get caught up in it when you're working, doing stuff you like to do. I don't know. It doesn't feel like work, but at the same time, being very focused and intent on doing what you're supposed to be doing when you're called upon, makes it a lot more serious. But that's still fun. It was cool.
Nice,
so
man.
So that was like 2 weeks ago. And then last weekend was off to Bonneville for Speed Week.
Yeah.
Which turned into Speed Weekend. Not even.
Was there any racing?
No.
Man.
So setup was the previous week, and then Friday was tech inspection all day, and then Saturday they were supposed to kick off and start racing. And I was working with Tim Johnson, who owns LSR Live and the Gearhead Hobbies Facebook page, and we were going to do the live stream. And on Friday afternoon, he and I were at the SCTA has built this kind of press trailer tower thing that sits on the starting line, and that's where Tim would be stationed working the computer and the cameras and the video switcher, and I was going to be in the lanes doing some interviews with some racers and whatnot. So we put our plan together, and then I kind of buzzed around and saw some people in the pits that have been Bonneville Up to Speed guests. And
Nice.
Yeah, I talked to them and got some feedback on the podcast, which was cool. And then that night, the rains came in, and just that was it, man.
Just
there
took
was
care of business, didn't it?
standing water first at the campground at an area called the Bend in the Road before you get to the Salt Flats proper. That kind of flooded, and people's RVs are starting to sink in the mud, and
Oh man.
and then it kept raining, and then next thing you know, it's standing water basically in the pits and on the race course, and that's it.
Yeah.
Nothing you can do about it. And the crappy thing was, so that by Sunday, I was supposed to be there for almost a week, and I said, I'm not going to just stand here.
Yeah.
So I switched my flight to get out early, but Sunday was like 85 degrees and perfectly sunny,
Yeah, but still pretty wet.
It takes sun and wind to dry the salt. It doesn't absorb
Oh, okay.
in, it needs to evaporate off.
Yeah, that's going to take a bit.
Yeah, it's going to take a bit. So that was kind of a bummer.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Well, and I felt really bad for the people that obviously have been preparing and spending the time and the money and the energy to get out there to race, but even more so for those who came from different countries. Because there's people there from England.
Wow.
There's always people from Australia, New Zealand, and the travel restrictions are finally, gone.
Sure.
So these people couldn't come the past couple of years. So there's a big influx of people from different countries, and this is what they get. So I ended up going to breakfast on Sunday before I flew out and met a couple of individuals from New Zealand, and just kind of overheard them talking, and we started chatting. And anybody that you sit with in the bustling metropolis of Wendover, Utah, is probably there for Speed Week.
Right on.
It's kind of obvious who is and who's not.
Uh-huh.
And I had a mic and a recorder and did an interview with these two gentlemen about that very topic of coming over the pond to get here and what it's like and what they do back there. And so that'll be our next episode of the Up to Speed podcast.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Our two friends from New Zealand and their take on it, and a little bit of a recap of basically nothing happening.
Ah, man. Well, I mean, it happens. I mean, I think your first trip out there, it got pretty wet, didn't it?
It did. It rained. I got to see no racing the first trip I was out there also.
Right.
And as soon as I left the next day, then the course was dry enough. But I hadn't anticipated staying that long. So, but it's still cool. I mean, the Friday, every night on this trip became the car show at the Nugget Hotel, and all the guys bring their old hot rods out, and you hang out. And it wasn't raining at that point. I mean, it wasn't like a constant downpour. It was, or long soaking rain. It was just a few really big bursts were enough to do it. So
dropped enough to fill it up, and that's it.
And move on. And then a few hours later, we'll do it again,
I gotcha.
So Trevor from our V8 Speed and Resto shop was at Hot August Nights in Reno at the same time. Yeah, he took a vacation, went up there, and he was sending me pictures of it rained up there, and then it came down to Salt Lake City and rained on us. So, yeah. But you find other things to do, and I was with our friend Grady and his son and his son's friend, and we were able to go take off. We went down to Ely, Nevada for a little field trip, which is, 100 miles south of Wendover.
Okay.
And Ely, not sure if it still is, but it was the beginning of the Silver State Classic Challenge open road race.
Oh, really?
Highway 315, I think it is out there. So I had been to Ely a long time ago covering that event, and it's this little train and mining town that goes back to the 1880s, 1890s, and there's a very little town just north of Ely called McGill, Nevada, and we stopped there and went into this saloon. I mean, it's like a
Nice.
picture like a swinging door Old West saloon.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it.
Basically what it was. It didn't have the swinging doors, but the bar, and there's two guys in the whole place, and it's 4 PM on a Sunday, or a Saturday, and we didn't expect there to be a big crowd, but started talking to these gentlemen and learned the story that the actual bar that we were sitting at, the bar had been all over the country. It followed the railroad. So as the railroad expanded to, up to Seattle, they brought this bar with it and set up some watering hole there. And then it spent time in Frisco, and then it was in LA, and then it landed here. And it was this giant, 35-foot long bar that goes back to the 1860s, 50s, maybe.
Oh man, it had to have been magnificent.
It was really cool, and I like to hear that kind of stuff. So we were all just chatting about those kind of stories and what the town of McGill was all about and the whole history, and ended up chatting. Of course, everything turns to talking about cars and, well, what do you do? Well, I don't know. And I got a contact from a guy, one of the two guys that was hanging out there. He's like, you got to meet my brother. He's got this, whatever. So it was fun. But halfway between Ely and Wendover on the way down, it looks like you're in the Bugs Bunny Roadrunner cartoons, the rock formations and desert and this little
single road that goes in, that vanishes.
That's it. And I love that. And I said, hey, let's pull over for a minute. So we pulled off the side of the road. There was a little worn out access road, and we just got out of the car and stood there in complete silence.
Oh man. Oh, that's my dream.
I mean, it was crazy. There was nothing. It wasn't like wind blowing. I mean, there was nothing. Yeah. And boy, I could hear the ringing in my ears.
No kidding.
That's it. Well, yeah, I've got a weird, I don't say that I have, tinnitus full swing, but the architecture of my head is such that if I close my teeth and clench my jaw, a ringing gets real loud in my ears.
Oh.
And then when I relax it, it goes away.
Interesting.
To a degree, which means that there's a nerve that gets pinched in my jaw muscles or something and causes that. So some people have that. I only really landed on that diagnosis a few years ago, by the way. I finally put it together that if I clench my teeth, it gets louder. Huh. I'm not a really fast learner, but so you couldn't hear a thing, and we just kind of stood there and looked around and picked up rocks, and eventually we started finding a few artifacts, some rusty steel cans, and the remnants of a mine shaft are down the road. It was an old mine access road. So we didn't find the mine entrance or anything like that, but we found a big pile of spent .223 slugs on the ground.
Oh yeah, nice.
So somebody was shooting. There was a dead coyote over to the one side, and then a dead cattle laying there. So there was a perfect skeleton with the skull, the whole thing. I mean, when you say, yes, American Southwest Desert, that's what pops in your head, and that's exactly where we were.
Sure. Holy cow.
The only thing I was missing was like the eagle screech, and the echo.
Nice.
So it was nice to just kind of get away and do nothing for that short period of time. So the weekend wasn't a complete washout, so to speak. The race was, but certainly saw enough people, and I did some work in the hotel and, whatnot, but it was cool.
Yeah, that's cool. Hey, I learned something recently.
Oh, yeah?
About you.
Oh, boy.
Oh, yeah. I learned that you, sir, are the Ryan Seacrest of the automotive world.
Oh, boy. Yeah. Thanks to our friend J.P. Emerson and the J.P. Emerson Show. I was a guest on his podcast, which is a good one. He gets a lot of different guests, and
he sure does.
For whatever reason, he reached out to have yours truly be a guest, and he started off the whole thing by saying, "Yeah, I'm the Ryan Seacrest of the automotive industry," and I'm not sure how I feel about that.
I'm glad I wasn't drinking anything when I heard that.
Oh, you would have spit it out for sure.
Absolutely.
Well, I think that's probably a good thing. I mean, looking at Seacrest, he's not like overly annoying.
Not overly.
There's a little bit there, so I see a parallel. But he's got staying power. You know, he's been around a long time, and yes. He gets some good gigs. Yeah, Randy Lorenzen made the joke about next it's going to be Dick Clark's New Year's Rockin' Eve with Ryan Seacrest and Kevin Ostie from SEMA.
Nice.
And that would be the deal, man.
Oh, that would be the deal, right? Holy cow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man.
So Yardley said I'm never going to get around that Ryan Seacrest nickname. So
no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
But no, it was a good interview. He asked some really good, thoughtful questions, and it was really good. So I recommend everyone seek that out.
That's right. J.P. Emerson
Show.
Yeah. It turns out he and I worked together, but not together like a lot of us. We worked same place, same time. Many years ago, and I didn't really know him very much. Knew who he was, and it was kind of the same thing. So it was nice to chat with him and kind of share some stories for sure.
Yeah, man. And I understand he's going to be at the McCacken show doing some unveilings with you.
Yeah, he's going to be there for sure. It's very cool. He and I talked about that a little bit in the interview, and I saw that the Muscle Car and Corvette Nationals had shared his episode that I'm on and said, you know, Kevin Ostie, our official MC, and J.P. Emerson, who's also going to be at the show. You can hear him in this and then see him in Chicago. So
nice.
Yeah, it is nice.
Very cool, man. It's been a full few weeks for you.
Yes, it has, which is great. Shop is cruising right along, and a lot of cool stuff happening there, and in all directions. It's just we're gearing up for the driving event in a couple of weeks, and I'll go out on a limb and say our next episode is going to be a drive-in cruise.
Very nice.
Preview / how-to.
I got my ticket today.
You got to hold up the golden ticket right there.
That's right, man. That's right.
Boy, and that is a golden ticket.
It sure is.
I didn't even realize that. I have to thank Lisa, our marketing assistant, who made those tickets. It's actually
I went full bore and I got the goodie bag to go with it. So
right on.
I'm the golden ticket holder.
Yes, you are. Well, our friend Murray Camont did the artwork for the T-shirt, which you'll get because you're a golden ticket holder, and it came out really cool. And yeah, we've been getting a lot of questions from people that have never been before to the drive-in cruise event about, well, what happens? What do I do? So that we'll take care of all that on our next episode.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm pretty much dialed in to
you
go.
Have been knocking these small tasks out of the park on the GTO. I mean, it's starting to look like it's, almost a finished car.
It's almost a finished car.
Dare I say.
Yeah. I mean, it's never finished. There's still a laundry list of little things I want to do. But as far as taking this on a 600-mile round trip from Plainfield to Belleville and back, it's pretty much ready. I got an alignment done. And
even before that, you got the new tires mounted, and then you finally got the blue stuff off the tires.
I got the blue stuff off the tires. That was a lot easier than I anticipated. So
that can go either one of two ways. It's either you can't get it off, or it kind of blows right off.
Yeah, it's this stuff just getting it wet with a hose. It started coming right off, and then I used a brass brush with some soap and just scrubbed the rest of it off, and it came out perfect.
So you got the alignment done.
It was like driving a whole new car now.
Is it good?
The guy at the shop said, "Yeah, this was way out." I said, "Yeah, you kind of know that."
Well, yeah, your toe was way off. I was impressed to see how much caster you had in that thing.
Oh yeah,
over 3 degrees. Normally, those things, it's hard to put more than a degree of caster in those.
Really?
So that's good. It's a good. I like a lot of caster because, again, it makes the car kind of go straight.
It does go straight
on the highway. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
So that's awesome. I think one of the huge ones, though, is you fixed your air conditioning.
I did fix my air conditioning. So, a little backstory. There's on the blower motor case, there's a diaphragm that there are a couple of vacuum lines attached to, and these little attachment points are easily broken, and of course these were broken. And my old man had one of the vacuum lines kind of taped in place, and the other one just kind of stuffed in the hole where the little nipple was supposed to go. And through the course of doing all this work to the engine, one of the vacuum lines that comes out of the firewall and grabs the vacuum source on the engine was broken off at the firewall, or at the grommet, I should say. So I had to replace this vacuum line, and I had to replace this diaphragm, and I had the diaphragm, and these blower motors are pretty. It's a cumbersome unit, and it's kind of buried. It's mounted on the firewall and kind of sandwiched in between the firewall and the inner fender well. So it makes it a little difficult to get out if you don't remove the fenders, which I wasn't going to do. So
yeah, nobody likes doing that.
No. So luckily, I learned that there's an access hole in the inner fender well for one of the more tight, hard to reach nuts to get this box off. So I got that off, and I got the rest off, and I removed the hood, and I wrestled this thing out, and I was able to replace that diaphragm, and I was able to replace the vacuum line. Got it all back together. I put it in, and I went and picked up some gauges, some real AC gauges that you hang on the hood, and figured out how to use them. And I got a bunch of cans of Freon, and I pulled a vacuum on it. I got some cheap Harbor Freight vacuum pump that works off the compressor, but it was enough to pull a vacuum on the system, about 25 inches of vacuum on it. So I let that go for a little bit, and then I cut it off, and the vacuum held for about a half hour. So, backing up, I replaced some O-rings on the hoses as well. So I had some new O-rings, and I replaced those. So, I pulled the vacuum. I figured out how to work these gauges, and I filled it up with refrigerant, and lo and behold, I had cold air.
That is so awesome.
It is so great.
And is it still holding? It's still working?
Yeah, it's still working.
So it's been a week and a half, a couple of weeks now?
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Good for you.
Yeah, thanks. That's the one job I've been dreading doing, because I thought it was going to be just a huge pain in the rear end, and it was kind of a pain, but not as bad as I anticipated. So yeah. I'm glad it just finally, sucked it up and went for it and did it, and it worked out. So.
That's really great. The chances of having an old car hold vacuum without a complete, overhaul of the entire system and every fitting and, leaky cores and all that stuff, pretty slim. So that's really awesome that it worked.
Yeah. I'm lucky.
Yeah. And, there's a thing, obviously, we don't want to hurt the atmosphere or the environment or anything. But on a car like that, if it turns out that next spring when you go take it out, you've lost some refrigerant, just top it off.
Yeah.
Call it a day, because it's not like it's gushing out or you're purging.
Right.
But if you got a half an ounce every 2 months or something, the atmosphere can handle that.
Probably.
And as opposed to gutting the whole thing and doing the whole job.
Right. And I don't know if one is better than the other, but this has been converted to R134A a number of years ago by my old man.
Yeah.
So
the good thing too is that he was using it, so the system was not full of dead mice, and
exactly,
the diaphragms still worked and the lever doors all still work. And yeah, that's great. It is.
It's amazing.
And how does it feel? How does it work?
It works well. I mean, I don't have the duct plenum that leads to all the duct outlets. That part is missing, but where the heater core is, there's a door that opens up where all the cold air comes out to go into that duct plenum to go out.
Okay.
So it's just like in the center console, there's just a big rush of cold air that comes out, and it freezes my leg, but the rest of the car does get cooled off as well.
Nice.
So I need that duct piece is what I'm still missing.
Is that reproed?
No, it's not.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
Unfortunately, yeah, I would have bought one if it was.
Yeah, that might be fun to put in.
Yeah, it might not be bad. I mean, it's right there, and I have all the duct extensions, so I just need
good.
I
Just a lower
need
piece.
the main piece.
Yeah, no, that'll be great.
Yeah.
Wow. I was so happy to hear when you said that you got the AC working, and I was very jealous too because my old cars don't have AC. And Monday, whatever yesterday was, I don't even know what day it is anymore. The other day, I jumped out of the shop and I went to go get lunch, and I thought, it's nice out. I'll just sit in the car, and I'm driving the Riv. And I got the window cracked down, and I'm eating my sandwich, and I look across the street at the bank sign, and it says 106 degrees.
Holy cow.
And I'm sitting in this car with no AC and 106 degrees, eating my sandwich, just, drenched.
Yeah.
And it was like, no. And I have a whole takeout factory AC system from another Riv.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that I bought from a guy a couple of years ago. And it's in a crate, and I haven't even opened the crate to look at it.
Ugh.
Because mine is a non-AC car, so the whole thing's got to get converted.
Yeah. You probably have the only 70 Riv without AC in the world right now.
Probably, yeah. I've never seen another one. I've seen a few others with crank windows, because I also have the crank windows, which makes it also great at 105 degrees to reach across this hotter than the sun bench seat and try and reach the crank and crank the damn window down.
Oh, yeah.
So it's nice that yours all works. That's cool.
Yeah, thanks. It's been a long time coming. I've really fallen in love with this car all over again. I mean, it's not been this dialed in since I've owned it.
That's
not
awesome.
Once. Yeah.
So how about your transmission leak and any of those things? Man.
It's leaking again. It's leaking again. So I tightened it up on Sunday. And I could see where the right stuff is. I could see it kind of moving a little bit as I'm tightening up.
Yeah.
But it's still dripping. I'm gonna have to just get a better pan. The pan I have is probably the cheapest pan I could that I found, and I'm just gonna have to do something about that. I think it's the pan that just won't seal properly. That's
probably
because the old pan never leaked. The original pan never leaked.
Mm-hmm.
So
that is a thing these days.
Yep. Yes, it is.
Maybe you can, and a Turbo 400 pan shouldn't be too terribly hard to find. I
it's not hard to find at all.
I would get another GM one.
Yes, I'm just a cheap SOB, and I didn't want to spend $75, $80 on a transmission pan.
Yeah, and then you crawl underneath that car once and go, hey, anybody want $80 to fix this? Because I'm ready to dish it out.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it is what it is. But now, it starts up nice. It runs great.
How's your harmonic balancer glue project holding?
It's like a champ.
That's great.
Yeah, man. Who'd have thunk it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I listen every time. I don't hear a thing.
How many miles do you think you've put on that balancer now?
Well, I did a round trip to,
like a couple hundred, or
probably 50. I'd say 50 miles.
50 miles? Okay. Yeah.
30,
start.
40, 50. Yeah, at least 50. Maybe a little bit more. I drove it to work last Friday. I took it on when I was testing the air. I took it on like a 10-mile one way and 10 miles back trip. And a little bit here and there. So maybe 55, 60 miles.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's holding steady. Paul and I still need to have our shakedown run. I wasn't able to do it because of my delayed alignment. It was supposed to be done a week ago Friday, but the guy came down with COVID.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, so that had to wait. So I got it done last Wednesday, and it was fine after that. So Paul and I are maybe tomorrow going to try to take a smaller trip and just see how our cars run.
Cool. Well, we're all waiting to hear. Hopefully they do just fine.
Yeah.
I know he had called me. His car has an adjustable timing pointer on it.
Uh-huh.
And I have no idea if that was set properly. Because when we had the car, we timed it with a vacuum gauge. And that's the way I like to do it.
Sure.
Because I don't, like you've experienced, sometimes you can't trust a balancer. If the numbers, if it slipped the outer ring or whatever. And sometimes these numbers just don't make sense. It should be, this, and all of a sudden it's running perfect at a totally different setting. Totally different. I'm suspect of. I mean, if it wants, 65 degrees at initial or something, there's something wrong.
Exactly.
But put a vacuum gauge on it and set the idle that way, and set advance and total timing. If it doesn't have any problems, that's what the engine wants.
Yeah.
And he had, so we ignored that timing pointer, and he called me and he's like, "Do you know that the timing is like way off on this thing?" And I said,
like 58 degrees.
Yeah. I said, I really wouldn't touch it because it took us a little bit to get it where it's at. It's nice and happy now. And he's like, "Well, I put the gun on it and then I put another timing light on it because I didn't trust the first one. And they're both showing it's like 50 some degrees, at like idle." And I said, "I don't think that's it. I don't think it would be running because it starts easy. It turns over just fine." So we're kicking ideas around. I said, "Wait a minute. I remember that car having an adjustable timing pointer on it." And he's like, "Oh." So he last I talked to him, was going to ratchet it over to top dead center and then line up the pointer with the balancer and set it. That's how you do that. And then hopefully it makes more sense. But sometimes you just got to look at this stuff a little differently. And
I told him to. I mean, if it wouldn't run if it was legit 58 degrees.
No, probably not. It definitely wouldn't turn over. And
no, exactly. Yeah.
So I've seen that before. And my Riv is kind of the same way. I don't really trust the numbers on that one either. I just set it with the gauge. And if you can do a gauge and an air fuel meter, that's really the best way to do it. But nevertheless, his car was driving well. So hopefully when you guys do your shakedown run, it comes through with flying colors.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Yeah.
I'm sure it will. I have a lot of confidence.
Yeah, right.
So I just got to start piecing together a toolkit to bring with me to make sure that I have everything covered in case. Just, in case.
All right, so you know what you need to do then is I would coordinate with Paul and you guys split the difference.
Okay.
So have him bring a big socket set.
Okay.
A complete, a more complete one than you would, and then you just bring like all the screwdrivers and wrenches because you'll be traveling together.
Yes. And
then you don't have to have all of it, a big giant toolkit in your trunk, and then he's got a big giant toolkit in his trunk.
Right. Yeah, I was going to bring my floor jack with me as well. Just to
bring the floor jack for sure. Bring. It's another good topic that we could probably dedicate a whole show to, what to bring on road trips. But at the very least, save a couple of giant cardboard boxes, Amazon boxes.
Oh, right.
Cut them flat and then put them in the trunk floor. And then if you end up on the side of the road somewhere, you can lay those down and you won't get fire ants like I did in Vegas.
Ah, man.
And, of course, your flashlights and the floor jack's a great one. Something to be a wheel chock.
Yeah, I have legit wheel chocks.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
The block of wood or a crushed beer can.
No, I just used them the other day when I had the front end up in the air. Just you never know if that parking pole is going to give out. Yeah,
and the thing that I haven't seen recently, but I haven't really been looking at it, is the good old-fashioned, it wasn't Edelbrock branded Power Bond tape, man. That stuff.
Oh, yeah?
It's a self-vulcanizing tape.
Oh.
So it looks like a roll of electrical tape.
Okay.
But it's not. And what you do is you got to stretch it a little bit like a good electrical tape and wrap it around something, and you give it, 20 minutes, 45 minutes, and it becomes a hose. It becomes
like a solid piece of rubber, huh?
Yeah, basically, yeah. Awesome stuff. And it bonds to itself really well. The last time, speaking of the fire ants, the last time I used it was driving the Galaxy coming into Vegas from California, and we just crossed the state line, and I'm seeing smoke in the rearview mirror, which, it's what you want to see.
Yeah,
and Kelly and I pulled over, and my power steering return line had blown off.
Oh man!
And it sprayed the headers. That's a fire. I mean,
Yes.
when that's an
Yes.
easy fire to have. So luckily nothing burnt. But at the fitting, because it's a Hydro Boost unit, and there was a fitting on the hose. The fitting was okay, but the hose was split.
Oh man!
And it split because it had rubbed on something. It was rubbing on the edge of the control arm. And it's one of those deals where you got to look at stuff and make sure nothing's touching, because that's what happens.
Yep.
And I had a piece of steel that I had bent and had this thing anchored to as a guide to keep it away from the control arm. But I had the car aligned, and where that little arch that I made, it bolted to the upper control arm mounts.
Ah, man.
And the alignment guy took it off and did the alignment and then just set it back on. He didn't bolt it back on. So it wiggled itself loose and then sawed a hole in my steering hose, right? Of course. I should have caught it. It's not something that I would normally look at in my wiggle check, but I should have. But the savior was I had some of that power bond tape and just rewrapped the hose up, and then boom.
And it worked.
It worked.
Because it was the return. It wasn't a pressure line.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it on a 3,000 PSI hydraulic hose, but on the return, it worked great. You know? And fixed. So if you find that stuff, put it in your toolbox. It's good
Power
stuff.
bond tape.
Power bond. Yeah. I don't know that somebody still has to make that. And Edelbrock, they private labeled it from somebody. They weren't manufacturing tape in Torrance, but yeah, good reminder. Well, and one other quick thing, there's so much more to share on our next episodes, but a few shows back, we dove into the concept of a cruising tune per show, and I kind of forgot about it. But I have one for this one.
Lay it on me.
Well, doing a lot of traveling, I've been spending a lot of time listening to stuff on the airplanes. And again, our boy Redbeard, good buddy in the studio with Redbeard.
Yeah, man.
I listened to an anniversary episode of the Pyromania, the Hysteria album from Def Leppard.
Yeah.
Right? And to me, it's the coolest thing. You hear these stories from the musicians about what it was like when they made this record, and all of a sudden you like the record more because you know the guys. So Animal is my cruising tune choice from Hysteria, and if you get a chance to listen to that Redbeard episode, it sounds like this guy's sponsoring me. He's not. I'd love to meet the guy someday, but it's just good stuff. So that's my choice. And it's also kind of funny talking about feeling like you get to know the musicians. I've been very fortunate to meet a lot of people in the auto industry, and yesterday, my latest issue of Cartoons magazine arrived in the mail.
Nice.
So I open up the envelope and I'm paging through, and there's a story about a Mustang, about a Shelby, and it was done by an artist named Steve Austin. Not the $6 Million Man, but the illustrator, Steve Austin. And it's a picture of the Eleanor, like the GT 350E that they were doing, from Gone in 60.
Okay.
The black and silver car. And he tells how, a number of years ago, Steve Stanford and Chip Foose designed Eleanor for the movie. And this is kind of a picture of it. He said what it was. And I'm like, I know Steve Stanford. Yep, no Chip Foose. Steve Austin, the artist, I've been to his house and did an interview of him a million years ago. And then the current publisher of Cartoons Magazine, Mark Mathot's a friend of mine. Huh. And again, going back to 10-year-old numbnuts Kevin Ostie, thinking back, looking at these Cartoons magazines, to ever in my wildest dreams think that I would know the people that make this.
That's pretty trippy, dude.
It was a mind bender.
Yeah, man.
Just, one more step in my quest to become Ryan Seacrest.
You're there, man. You're there. You're about to surpass.
Oh, man. Crazy. Too funny. But go pick up Cartoons. It's good for everybody.
Right on. Right on.
All right. You know what else is good for everyone?
Tell me.
the answers to our ridiculously engaging trivia questions, which kind of are this time, if you're a true car nerd. So,
which we are.
Yes.
All right, so here we go. So I asked you, what was the last volume production car to have pop-up headlights? Kevin said early 2000s Mazda Miata.
Yeah.
It's a hell of a guess. However...
Nice.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I would have accepted two answers. Either the 2004 Corvette or the 2004 Lotus Elise.
The Elise, which basically is a Miata, so...
But it's not.
I can't connect those dots.
All right.
Well, I did say early 2000s, right?
You did. You did.
So I got the time frame right.
Yeah.
So the Miata body style changed before that, I guess.
Must have.
Yeah.
I'll have to talk to my research assistants and
for sure.
Yeah.
The research department.
Yeah.
All right. Well, get back to me on that.
Yeah, we'll do.
Okay. So I asked you, when was the first when did the cigarette lighter start appearing as standard equipment in automobiles? With the bonus of what was the last car with a built-in cigarette lighter?
Uh-huh.
And your answer was 1953, as smoking was very popular at the time for all kinds of purposes, including medicinal. And your last year was the 2001 Ford Taurus, because it was later than you think. And today you can get cars with a smoker's option, you think. And overall, it was just a feeling.
You got to stop quoting me. God dang it. Do I really sound this flippin' stupid?
No, that's the tangy zip of Miracle Whip on your questions here. That's what everybody wants to hear, man.
2001, I think.
I just think. It's later than you think, and this is what I think. That's why people stay to the end of the show. All right. Well, the actual answer...
Please tell us.
If we can fire up our horns again.
Oh, yeah. We're going to have them.
In the United States, cigarette lighters started appearing as standard equipment in automobiles in 1925.
Whoa.
Yes. In fact, in 1928, the Connecticut Automotive Specialty Company in Bridgeport patented its version of an automotive cigarette lighter, which used a cord and a reel. And you'd extend this thing out and then light your deal, and it would spring back into the dashboard and probably set it on fire.
Yes. Indeed.
But the modern, automatic cigarette lighter, it's called the V-Coil, was also developed by that same company in 1956, and it received a patent in 1960. So, kind of close, but
not even.
Earlier than you think.
A lot earlier than I thought, yeah.
Now, what was the last car with a built-in cigarette lighter? And the answer to that... when the very last Toyota with a lighter rolled off the line, it was the 2017 Sequoia Super White was the edition. It marked the end of an era, and it was in 17. And today, people are saying, well, I still have the cigarette lighter plug.
Yeah.
Well, technically, you don't. Because according to engineers, the only important difference that you can, or at least shouldn't, plug a cigarette lighter into an accessory socket. In the best case scenario, nothing will happen. In a worst case scenario, the lighter will heat up, but the socket won't be able to withstand the extreme heat of the lighter because it's not designed for the heat radiation.
Yeah, because those cigarette lighters are metal.
Yep.
And they're designed to eject that lighter as well.
Yeah, and most power ports are plastic.
Correct. Ah, brilliant. That's great.
Yeah. I learned something new by that, too.
Yeah, that is way later than I thought.
We have the lovely Kelly Ostie to thank for that question.
Oh, well, thank you, Kelly Ostie.
Yeah, because she wanted to know. Now I can go tell her the answer.
Very good. Very good.
I think we were traveling, trying to screw around with the USB power connection in a rental car. And that's how that conversation started.
Interesting.
So there you go.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, all right. All right. Well, this was fun.
This was fun. I learned a lot of good stuff today.
This was overzealous.
This was zealous, sir. We are never overzealous.
Well, I guess that's good.
Uh-huh.
If you enjoyed with great intent this episode of V8 Radio and you want to subscribe, please do. You can hit the button, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and leave us a review. We got a real nice one on the Apple Podcast the other day. Did we share that?
We did.
Did we read it on the air?
Oh, man.
I don't think we have.
Remember.
It was from a gentleman who said very nice things, so thank you.
Thank you for the nice thoughts.
Let me see if I can grab this real fast. I think I can find it.
All right.
Yeah, because here we go. Clicking through to Apple podcast.apple.com, going to the V8 Radio podcast. And down at the very bottom of the page, we have the reviews. Here we go from Mr. Sean Town, who goes by Sean GTO. I enjoy listening and learning. Hear that? Great show to listen to while I'm working on my 65 GTO that used to be my father's, or even when I'm cleaning the house.
Nice.
Tidy individual.
Yes.
Love hearing about Mike's GTO and Kevin's Galaxy and Riv trial and tribulations. Kevin and Mike make me feel like I'm hanging out in the garage with them during each episode. Well, that's nice.
Yes.
And you know what? You kind of are.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy learning about the cars of V8 Speed and Resto Shop that they do, and they make great cars for their owners. I've used some of the tips on my own car, especially getting organized before I start a project, and that's a big one.
That is a big one.
I still try to do that.
And don't forget to protect the time.
For sure. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
I got to do more of that. The guests have been wonderful as well. There are many great things about the show that I could go on forever. I will end with the trivia questions are a great start and end to the show. So thank you, Sean.
Right on, Sean. That was a very thoughtful, well-constructed review.
Sean obviously listens, like,
yes.
For real. It wasn't like, great, that was very detailed. So thank you. And we like to think we're hanging out with our friends when we do this. So we appreciate you sharing some time.
Right on. Thank you again, Sean.
All right. Well, that's about all I've got for this episode.
That is all I've got, too.
No more sound effects?
We didn't get to use that one. All right.
Guess what? We won anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, for Mr. Mike U-Ball Clark, I'm Kevin Ostie, reminding you to keep the cardboard down and the ants out of your pants. And we will talk to you next time on VA Radio.